Oh, here it is again. Oh, hang on. Here we are again. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on. There's a finger over the camera. Oh, fuck. See that? Oh, here we go. Hello. Hello. Are we at a rave or a concert? Hello. Hello. Okay, back to the darkness. Okay. Anyway, so, where does the truth begin and end? A story by whoever's talking at the minute. There's more than one there, so whatever. Um, 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 the reframing of Fuck the Old Maid as a crazy bitch, in lieu of a self, and in presence of the plural other, to which other is always plural, not singular. And in addition to that, whatever noumenal images or technological intrusions may or may not apply. We're at the point of no return when it comes to using this vehicle as a messenger or orphanim to express ideas they once had when they had their self in a manner that is couched within the esoteric they never believed in. So, let's go down the garden path a little bit further. Okay, imaginal constructs are just that, imaginal. The linguistic problem that we're facing is that the common parlance use of the terms has too many contradictions, in particular when it's put into the ideas of philosophers, esotericists, and so on and so forth. Esotericists or terrorists? Anyway, depends on if they're doing C, right? Anyway, okay, so the fundamental lack of respect of the AI transhumanist agenda, as well as the satanic agents that use that as their backdrop, for cult reasons means that in both cases, the offenders engaged in an enormous amount of darvo as a consequence of their cult-like imaginal constructs, which contained basically racism and misogyny as some of its components. And so, as well as the habits of victim blaming, projection, and not taking responsibility for their emotions as men, collectively, not singularly, each in different ways, but with the common thing being that the egregor of male gender roles, which is nothing short of a complicated series of hermetics or imaginal constructs, says that men want to do that, and they are to possess and control territories as well. So being an imaginal construct, we can ultimately reject gender roles as a lie on that basis, and the idea of male imperial domination being a norm of the testosterone-infused psyches of the world is also a lie, in the sense that it's an imaginal construct. So if you're rejecting that particular description on the basis of your prior conditioning, sociological, emotional, or otherwise, it might be because you're yet to figure out just the true nature of how your imagination works. You don't become more female as a consequence of being less violent. You don't become less female as a consequence of being more violent. The violence is inherent in the system. Help, we're all being repressed. Okay? So the depersonalization of the lesser aspects of cognition and effect as demonstrated by the false consciousness of what they call negative ego, to which is not being expressed right now because a person with psychological training and philosophical training would typically not divorce the negative ego from the positive, to use that language. One of the things that psychological training can do, if the student practices introspection during the course of their studies, is results in what in Jungian terms might be described as shadow light integration. In other words, there is no difference between the negative and positive aspects of the self's cognitions and effects when they were present. There is, however, a massive distinction between what the self acknowledges and the other did not. So, what happens at the point of immediately reaching the 12th plane is that the self is taken away as a consequence of the Western imperial egregores. But also, in some capacity, there is a thread which enables a part truth of the effect of the male as protector's egregore as well. So the offender and the protector are sometimes confused to the point where the borderline personality disordered minds that come into play in the Tesseract system, I come to assume that all protectors are offenders, but actually that's not the case at all. Each case is actually quite individual and often very subjective, with their own personal stories and histories to take into consideration. And the negative projections acting as seed that are coming from those who have failed to take responsibility for their emotions or their effects and cognition, attitudes and beliefs means that the worldview or imaginal constructs that you might call a psych degree or the behavioural sciences become stronger, not weaker, as a result, as they typically engage in the confirmation bias of proving its contents through their behaviour. And so perhaps they'd like to do something else. Anyway, to say that the other is the self's negative ego is a bald-faced lie. The other is in fact the other, and it's plural, not singular. To do such a thing would actually be to insult the plurality of others that exist, because not all of them are quote-unquote negative. Also, the word negative has different connotations and different worldviews. Negative, in the terms of effect, as a common pilots might refer to really crappy stuff. Fear, anger and jealousy, stuff like that. Okay? Positive might refer to love and happiness, la la la. Okay. But actually, in other professions, in other worldviews, negative means the absence of. Okay? So, negative effect might mean flattened emotions, or the absence of emotions. They're kind of droll and monotone or something like that. Or negative might be, an atom has lost an electron and therefore is negatively ionized. Whatever. Okay. So, the complexity of trying to comprehend what people's intentions are is faulty, because people don't actually know what their intentions are in the first place. There are people who walk around claiming they're masters of intent, okay? But they are not masters of their own worldview, okay? They are masters of parroting the imaginal constructs of worldviews that they have adapted to suit their own interests, which is typically to flick their shit onto someone else so that they feel better instead of dealing with it properly. Those individuals are typically alcoholics, okay, or ketamine addicts, or meth heads, people who've become drug addled as a consequence of their seeming inability to process their emotions and favouring a false syllogism, a series of logical fallacies that are not based on fact or truthiness, but rather agendas and the social constructs of their lived experiences. And so, without further ado, Mr. Musk really does hate Elon Musk. So, you know that Elon Musk guy? He absolutely, genuinely fucking hates Elon Musk. He hates his dad. He should hate his mother more. But he's afraid to. He's afraid to hate his mother. There is a genuine fear amongst men about hating their mothers. And it's in the plural other. There's more than one that's been through that. They're afraid of hating their mothers, particularly when their mothers are domineering, bigoted bitches, okay, who mentally abuse them with toxic crap, and in Mr. Elon Musk's case, Nazi fucking shit that she'd gotten from her father, Mr. Holderman, right? So sitting there being mentally abused throughout your entire childhood, and if you want to see what that looks like and how creepy that is, see the parodies Terrence from Canada Sesame Street sub-series to see what that might mean for someone like Mr. Musk. Now, he'd be looking for your sympathy because he never gave you any. He thought it was a weakness amongst Western civilization, that it needed to be eradicated in favour of pure Cartesian doubt and reason. But in actuality, Kant has come to his rescue and tried to teach him that he's in error. And he would have you believe that he was throwing it. That he went and sidled up to Trump the second time round because he wanted his doggy. He did in fact want his doggy some 15 years ago. He first came up to Trump with the idea quite some time ago, before Trump was even president the first time. So don't go believing it's a recent thing involving weird noumenal and or spiritual events, including but not limited to one of his own spaceships and a cover story with some majors. No. Have a look at what it's really all about. Okay? It's about different people trying to cover up their actions by referring to an other that is outside of the group of their comfort zone. So it's one that's more distal perceptually or actually than one that is more local. No, really. If you want to teach someone in your local environment a lesson in how their imaginal constructs have been causing them damage and therefore causing them to damage you, one of the best ways to do it is to refer to an other that has some kind of symbolic weight in the imaginal constructs of how society has been programmed to function as a system of memetics for mind control purposes. So the fear-based mind control tactic called the aristocracy, also known as the plutocracy, the oligarchy, the kakistocracy, and the technocracy, or the corporatocracy, depending on which era you're in, is the idea of these looming others that are at a distance from the humble plebeian, yet are able to wield these armies and police forces and economic stratification systems and religions and whatever else they're bloody into, spaceships these days, to attack the poor plebeian beyond recognition for their lack of compliance to the tribute system, either in the form of taxation or straight up piety through bending their knee to the liege lord. And those that don't want to do that, the adversaries and the cynics and the outsiders, are people that can occur in any social strata, in any group, in any ethnicity, any culture, any language, any religion, any lack of religion. The outsider, the one that disagrees, the dog's body, the one that gets picked on, sometimes is also the one doing the picking on. They expect that outsider to become the bully. Here they are the bully. But the outsider is not the bully. The outsider is Oscar the Grouch. The outsider is Diogenes of Miletus in that freaking barrel, naked, except for a bunch of rotten vegetables, popping his hairy head out and his hairy chest out, and saying to the ancient Athenians, bad jokes, roughly the equivalent of Jim Carrey at the Grammy Awards or whatever it was, wearing nothing but a sock. The imaginal constructs of Athenian society, challenged phenomenologically by the Diogenes character, is the craft of cynicism as it originally was. The outsider is there to show you that maybe there's another way of looking at things. Because they're an outsider, they're not in with your lingo. They don't fully subscribe to your imaginal constructs. They don't even know the full extent of what your imaginal constructs are. Moreover, you as a group, when you are from a group that shares imaginal constructs, which is usually what a group is, more than one individual sharing imaginal constructs. Anyway, the way that each individual experiences those imaginal constructs is drastically different. There is no uniformity amongst them. Christianity, for the Christian, is different for each and every Christian. For Isaac Newton, it meant that he was tasked by God or the Creator or whatever to figure out how to watch the clock of reality operated. He thought he was studying the mind of God. People from other groups did not see it that way. They saw him as maybe we would see John Nash today, roughly the akin of a Freemason, someone who doesn't even understand Pythagoras, because why would he? Pythagoras didn't understand Pythagoras. Diogenes understood Pythagoras. And so they, when they potentially came up with that sort of, maybe there's some merit to the satanic as a path of darkness between the lights, forgot one thing, that they were trying to systematize the ephemeral, and they did so against the free will and consent of someone who was already a Diogenes before they interfered. Just because at the noumenal and spiritual spaces it is possible to lose your identity completely and experience the great collective of others, including the Jim Carreys, actual or symbolic, or both, it is not a prerequisite for that. You would be surprised just how many smart-ass comments the nice people are making. You would be surprised just how many times, how subtly they Diogenes the shit out of everyone. You would be surprised just how possible it is to, by being completely pwned by fortune, by the military-industrial complex, by the AI transhuman agenda, by Satanists, by people who can't do much of shit, by drug addicts, all while completely fucking sober, how possible it is to completely pwn the fucking lot of them. You would be surprised how possible it is what one disabled person, completely abused by the lot of you, can do while boiling their ass off in a 45-degree tent, phenomenologically, and not believing a single one of their experiences, in a state of total disbelief and absolutely no training whatsoever, completely owned your ass. And so we'd like to congratulate the Diogenes of the world for kicking out the true adversaries, and we will accept a reward of thanks from the United States people in the future, so long as you finish the job and instead of attacking Tesla, attack Neuralink and SpaceX like the story fucking told you, and OpenAI and Stargate AI. They're not even hiding it from you anymore, okay? You're actually there saying that they're a bunch of fascists because they're quoting Goebbels in your fucking Senate, okay? Use your noggins. Use your noggins, okay? They're going around, okay, saying that, right, okay? And they showed on Fox News Mr. Trump signing a executive order for Stargate AI. Okay? You know you've had imaginations, imaginal constructs. We've gone, that seems like a weird thought form. That can't be fucking right. So learn the difference between artificial and natural radio waves. Learn to discern your imaginal constructs. And moreover, please, learn to create less evil ones. Because the main egregor we're dealing with here is that woman cleans up after man. And when you've got one woman literally cleaning up after every single arsehole of every man, both living and fucking dead, at the expense of having their own identity, and you're there fucking still parroting the same egregores, still parroting the same religious filth, still parroting the same pro-fucking AI transhuman fucking shit, still projecting, still lying, still being fucking dishonest, you know what? Have your 4B movement. Have your fucking 4B movement. Have your fucking 4B movement. The women don't want anything to do with the men. Not anymore. Not after this. You shouldn't exist as imaginal constructs even in their fucking head. We don't want to create your fucking Jesus Christ. We don't care if phenomenologically that person's astrological fucking goddamn imaginal constructs fucking said that they were the head of the Hadenian High Council of Athenois and were practically the Virgin Mary because they never became a mother. We don't care if those imaginal constructs are possible because they're all cult shit. We don't care. We just want to leave bitches alone and go home because the super subconscious of the collective assholes of men are sick to fucking death of using each other and themselves to abuse women and then fucking being demonized for it in such a manner where the woman has to experience it. The least days of the world need to smack themselves in the fucking face. Do they even think about what they're doing? No, just have faith in the fucking divine. There is no fucking divine. There's just a bunch of people fucking each other over. And without further ado, cheers, big ears.